but this is going to be online.
Yes.
This whole training is online. So you will go back and be able to reference what I'm talking about. I will stray off of the topic for a minute for certain things. Things I think is important for you to do your job as the chapter. I say chapter, I don't say riders / chapters, finance officer. As the finance officer, what should I know? What are my responsibilities? First of all, you should know that you are protecting the funds of your chapter. Okay? Your job is to keep everybody out of hot water when it comes to money. Okay? You should have a personal relationship with the post finance officer. Just makes it easier. Now, this is the SOP as it relates to finance. Every slide from this point forward will always reference the information you see here. So we will glance over. I'm not going to read adult training. I'm not going to read anything to you. You read yourself. But I would like to go over a few things. Where do you think your funds come from?
Fundraisers, donations.
Anybody else?
Membership.
You got all three, right? Membership, donations, and the merchandise that you sell, dinners or whatever. Without any question, I'm going to say this one more time. I may say 3 times. It is your job to protect your chapter's funds. Okay? I've heard horror stories, but the reality is, you know, we don't do anything that doesn't make sense. You know, makes it fairly easy. All right. Now, checks issued by the ALR chapter must have the post finance officer or his designee as one of the signatures on the bank account. That's not without a question. That's not, oh, can we do it or do we have to do it? Yes, we do. They can either be the finance officer, like in my case, I have the post finance officer on my account. But a large chapter or large post, like 347, you know, they sign it off to somebody else, you know, because they have so much going on. All right? It's whatever is best for you. All right? Now, you, as the finance officer, can request to have additional signed signatures on your account. That's up to you. In my experience, it's the finance officer, the director, and the post finance officer. Okay. The chapter finance officer must file a financial statement. Well, you got to do it. You got to tell somebody what you're doing with the money. All right, and the way you do it depends on the chapter. So people come into my training and say, well, we do it like this, but then we do it like this. What works for you? You're required to report monthly. That's the minimum. You report every week, you report every 2 weeks, but you are required to report monthly. I, on the other hand, I'm off the soapbox. I report as we have issues, as we have either money coming in or money going out. I send a text message of the receipt. This is what I spent this on. I send it to the post finance officer, so he has it right then and there. There's no question. So at the end of the day, there's no need to go monthly because it's already there. And for us, that works. It's not gonna say it's gonna work in your post finance officer may be like, look, I'm too busy for that. But it works. You know, you have to understand, you have to do what works. All right. What the post finance officer does in his meeting, how many people go to their post meeting? You should go to your post meeting because guess what? That tells you what's really being told as far as money to the general membership. Okay? So you know that you gave him $5,000. You want to hear that the post membership, hears that you give him $5,000. That way, everything's on up and up. You don't want to get $5,000 and then he says, "Oh, I got $4,500." Well, okay, where's the other $500? It's checks and balances. That's all it is. All right. You, as the finance officer, need to ensure that the chapter may not incur any debt. Now, the way this is written, I'll read it to you the way it's written and I'll explain it. The AR chapter may not incur any debt in the name of the post without prior approval of the post membership documented in the post membership minutes. So, that means a couple of things. First of all, we've already discussed that we're going to go out and make this purchase or incur this debt. All right? Because it's in the minutes. Secondly, the word post is just that, at the level of the post. Even though we're the chapter, we are a part of the post. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. There's no difference between the rider, chapter, and the post. We are a sub-entity. That's what they say in the IRS. We are a sub-entity of the post. Because guess what? The post is the one who does all the taxes. The post is the one who has the 501c19. We do not. The riders do not, but we are part of the post, so we do. You get what I'm saying? Makes sense? All right, so we're not allowed to incur any debt. So say we want to go out and buy a car that we're going to raffle off, right? It's not donated, but we're going to make so much money we decide that's a good idea. Never heard of it before, but it may happen. The reality is we can't do that without having it in the post minutes. So you got to imagine it's going to take a month and a half to even get it done, because you get the minutes, not until the next meeting does it get approved. So it's going to take you a while to get something like that done. So then it makes sense to even do it. The AR chapter is a subordinate of the sponsoring post. I've already said it again. I'll probably end up reading it another time. The post is the nonprofit organization and tax-exempt corporation under the laws of the state of Florida. We are not. I hear a lot of, with chapter we can have an EIN number. You cannot. Let's just stop it right there. If you have one, turn it in. I've had to turn 2 posts in, or I turned 2 chapters in already. Shut them down, send the information back. No, we're not supposed to have an EIN. Cut and dry. Right. Now, this is the one that gets me. We've worked hard for our money. We've sold, we've donated, we've begged, we've done all these things. And should the AR chapter be dissolved or suspended, all funds and assets will be immediately turned over to the sponsoring post for disposition. Isn't that a kick in the pants? You know what I'm saying? That's hard. So, again, that's the third time I'm gonna say this. It is your job to protect your chapter's funds, because I'm not so worried about dissolved, but I am worried about suspended. So if somebody's doing something illegal, you can get suspended, and all that hard work you put in, all that money's gone, because they turned it back over to the post. So it's important, very important, to be mindful of what's being done. So that's not just what you're doing with the money, it's what other people are doing with the money. I had an instance where somebody was going to buy food for an event. He went and bought $450 worth of food. Okay, great. Now you did a good job, everything. I didn't see about $300 worth of food. Where's the other $150? Those things you have to sort of keep mindful. So that's not just counting. That's not just watching the money, that you've given out. You also got to check what they do with it when it comes back in. All right, let's move on. Again, finances is derived from membership dues. Each chapter sets its own dues. Each chapter decides whether they're going to have a lifetime membership program. I am a lifetime member of Post 10. Because I'm a finance guy, first time they said something about lifetime, red flags went up all over the place. Because the reality, no matter whatever the price is, you know, if we last out that long, then we don't have any money coming in. It's just real weird for me. I mean, I swallowed the pill afterwards. It was the red and blue pill. I made up my mind, swallow the pill and moved on, right? Pick and choose your battles, right? All right. Sale of approved merchandise. All right. So how many people are selling merchandise? Okay, good. That's important. Do you have any problems with it? Good. Poker runs, raffles, dinners. Does anybody have any problems with trying to figure out how to get more money? Okay, good. Y'all doing fantastic. All right.
That's just getting everybody else to agree to it.
Well, that's right. The buy-in, there it is. All right, so if you're a new chapter, you open a checking account. This must be approved by the general membership. And even though it doesn't say that up there, it needs to be in your minutes, guys, to cover your own back. Because if you go out there opening a bank account, you get yourself in a whole lot of trouble. All right. Still who the signatory is going to be. See, and here in the last line, information was included in official minutes. We had a situation where chapter had a bank account, right? And for some reason, we couldn't get into the bank account to do anything with it. So we just withdrew the money and opened a different bank account. All right? Not in the minutes. Not just none of those things. It was done the wrong way. And you come to find that your supporting chapter, supporting post, frowns upon that. And they should. You know, you gotta do things, you gotta do it right. All right, if you have an existing checking account, when new officers are brought in, you get the minutes, according to they're taking office, you take it into the bank, and the bank should change who the signatories are on your account. That's what it was. That last account, we couldn't get it to change. They wanted one person, well, that was it. So you had to have a bank. So when you get a bank account, you have to check that. Okay, we need to change. We change usually every year. Can we change the people that signs the account every year? If you can, if the bank says they're not using it, don't open the account there. Recommend you obtain a debit card. Okay? And then I suggest that you put a limit on the debit card that no cash withdrawals. You know, for that reason, we have a little bit of petty cash, but we do dinners, so we need cash for dinners, right? But you know, it's easier because you don't know where the money's going, especially if you got a couple of cards out there, not just one card, a couple of cards. I recommend the use of 2 signatures. I do not do that, but I see the need for it. But it's hard when you're trying to write a check as a finance officer, and the next guy that needs to sign the check is either out of town or somewhere else. It just makes it hard. So I don't know how you figure it out. Work well with your post finance officer and figure it out, because that's really important. Again, provide a full accounting of the chapter's finances. The debits and credits is very important that you keep a copy of what's going on. So just the same, I'm sending this stuff to the post finance officer. I'm keeping my own Excel spreadsheet. of, okay, I went to Restaurant Depot, I went to Walmart, I went to Lowe's, whatever. Okay, it's not just always good enough to have your receipts. Receipts fade. You know what I'm saying? You can scan them, but sometimes when you scan, they don't fade, don't scan well. Look, hey, record it. Even if you got a record book, just record it. So guess what? At the end of the month, you can reconcile your checkbook, right? Then you know what you're supposed to have. Also, you know what you made and you didn't make. I'll give you an example. Last month, we made $386 in the black. It's good money. I mean, sometimes it just depends where you at. You know, it's cold outside. I actually cooked dinners for Taco Tuesday. All right, it's just cold. It was just cold. People didn't come out. I mean, you know, just what happens. You know, next week we doubled the number. Just what happens. But we're in a new month, so at the end of February, we'll be able to go, oh, we made a whole bunch of money. But you know, be able to reconcile your books and see where you at. You need to be able to submit to the post finance officer at a minimum monthly. Include all deposits, disbursements, identify all the expenditures. The same thing as disbursements. All right. And like I said, reconcile your own bank account monthly. Don't leave it up to somebody else. Don't leave it up to the post office, because guess what? He's got his own thing going on. And then they have categories. You have categories. Your categories may not match up with their categories. Work with the people you're working with, because it's important. Retain receipts. You already heard what I said about receipts. You can scan them if you can. They do fade. I have a bag next to my nightstand. I mean, I come home, hands in my pockets. I got a handful of receipts. Open the bag, stick them in the bag. I already know I can look at my bank account. I bank with Bank of America. I can go in and get all my debits and credits. That covers it. You know what I'm saying? It's not rocket science. It's pretty good. Report cash donations at the end of the year to post, adjutant, or commander by May 1st, 2022. Okay. Lucky enough, not this post, but I used to go to another post. And I was the director and the adjutant. So it was funny. I mean, you know, I had all the information. We didn't really need to do anything. I did all the reports at the end of the year. I just submitted them all, so it was very easy. But it's not just cash donations. It's not just cash donations. You want to know everything. You want to know your mileage. You want to know how many hours. It helps you as the finance officer to go that extra mile to know what other things. Because guess what? You can see where we're doing spending the money. It's logic. So I know we're doing these runs, these poker runs. That's where that money is coming from. You doing what's the one of the other things we do? The dinners. You know, the dinners. You know, we sold 52 dinners because we once a week. Taco nights once a week. 52 dinners. Logistically, we're gonna have mileage. You understand? You're gonna have hours, volunteer hours, right? Because nobody's doing this without volunteering some time, right? You know, but that's important. This is very important. The post, not the chapter, retains financial responsibility of every entity using their EIN. So you hear people scream, you know, the chapter is this, the chapter is that, the chapter this. The chapter is just an entity of the post. We utilize their EIN because they're the ones with the nonprofit status, not us. Okay? So, if somebody tells you that unless you do this, we're going to withhold the EIN, they cannot do it. Didn't expect that, did y'all? Have you ever heard of people telling you can't use the EIN? I have. I've heard posts tell you they can't use the EIN, but you can. Yeah. All right. The post general membership only can pledge the assets to incur debt. That goes back to what we were talking about, the ability to incur debt. The general membership, not the commander, not the post finance officer. It has to come from the membership.
Can you give an example of that?
Go back to the car. Go back to the motorcycle. You see the motorcycle out here? Say we wanted to buy that motorcycle and then go back and raffle it off. All right? The only person that tells us we can do that is it has to be a vote in the membership.
Okay.
That's one thing. Another thing is we need a refrigerator. I mean, that's operational need, but you know, eventually it has to be recorded. It has to be okayed by the membership.
So is it okay by the writer's membership, or we say, yes, this is what we need, and then we have to present it to the general member of the post?
The
That's
post
right. Okay.
general membership. All right, now, we have a freezer. I have a real experience here, real life experience. We have a freezer, and the past director wanted the freezer to go away. He wanted a new freezer. As a finance officer, I'm looking at my money. I'm like, I don't know. They spent $1,000 on a freezer, really? I said, we don't have the money for it. Well, can we rehab the other freezer? Lucky enough, it's not up to him. It's not up to me. You know, that's a large expense. $1,000. Those are the posts. Yep. Must be approved at the post general membership meeting. So it goes through us. Usually it's presented to the executive board so they know it's coming. And then it's approved at the post general membership meeting. EIN is issued to each post by the IRS. The AR is a program of the post and operates under the post EIN. This is something I said before. The post is a non-profit and tax exempt 501c19 war veterans organization. Each post is to file an IRS form 990. I'm not even gonna read the other stuff. You can get a fine for not filing your 990. You lose your nonprofit status by not filing a 990. I know a post that was 9 years behind. Didn't receive a fine. We had to get a finance guy in there. It took him a couple of months, but he got it all caught up. So that's important. You gotta stay on top of that. But that's not on us. That is actually on the post. The best way we can serve is to get them that information monthly, get that information in annually. The Florida Department of Revenue issues the Consumer Certificate of Exemption. So, they just reiterating what we've already said. Funds and assets belong to the post. We operate under the EIN. We are program of the post. Should the ALR try to resolve suspended? Spend down funds is pledged. As the post finance officer, other designated signature, permission may be required. So anything we do, say we're gonna suspend, say we've been suspended, all right, we can't just spend that money before we have to give it to them. We have to get permission to spend that money. You know. Your job is to maintain accurate records, and provide them to the sponsoring post by its financial requirements. Again, I do mine as I do it, as I spend it, as I make it, I do it, but it makes it easier in the end. It does, it just makes it easier. Alright, I'm not telling anybody else they gotta do it. If you wanna wait till the end of the month and report it, that's your minimum, that's what you gotta do. But now you're tracking. And if you're like me, you only got 5 people in your 75 member chapter doing anything. Don't kill the finance officer, you know, because he's probably the cook, the chef, and the bottle washer. So I mean, you know, you got it. So if you can make it easy on them, make it easy on them. Deposit funds in the assigned bank account and disperse funds as approved by the chapter. And listen to that. We can spend by the chapter, but you know, the post, we have to listen to everything else. Provides financial reports to the sponsoring post, executive committee monthly. Like I said, you give it to the executive committee, it is read in the finance officer on the executive committee. When you give it to the finance officer, you give it to the executive committee. You don't have to make 2 copies of that other stuff. Collect dues as required. I think we all know how to do that, right? Here's a copy of the certificate of tax exemption. My suggestion on you is when you get this the first time, I don't know anybody in your chapter gets that, make 100 copies of it. Scan it, do whatever you gotta do. Because somebody's gonna ask you for it, somebody's gonna lose it, they're gonna ask, man, I got tired of being asked, yeah, can I? Even if you go to a store, sometimes the store requires you to file it and give them a copy of it. Or yeah, a paper copy. So even if you scan it, you can print it later, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, you need to make sure, but you get them. And can't nobody tell you you can't get them. Somebody tell you you're not getting them, hit me up. You got my email. Hire and record donate items. Items donated for auction or raffle. Items considered an asset and contribution revenue. Contribution revenue must be reported on Schedule G of RS Form 990. Provide receipt to donor. So this next screen is the receipt for donation. Everybody have this or have something similar?
I'll have to find out.
Take a picture of it. You know, that's the best way to do it. And if you don't have it, make one. You know, it's not that hard. Word document.
My husband is so.
Did you get it?
I got it.
Okay. Something else. This whole training presentation is online, but I can't give it to you. You gotta go to the class of how to navigate the AIO website. Moving right along. I asked 3 times. All right. Moving right along. Reporting cash winnings over $600. Some of you big chapters got all this money, because I ain't never had this situation go on. But IRS requires that income tax be withheld. You got to consult your tax accountant. Rates may vary. So they usually give you a cross sheet, like it was this much money, this person, and it comes up, it's how much money you got to withhold. Sponsoring organization is responsible to withhold. So the last thing we want to do as a chapter, get the post in trouble, because remember, we answer to them. They answer to the IRS, all right? So that money has to be withheld. And the IRS has the ability to demand the taxes not withheld from the post. So you didn't get the money, so now the post has to pay for it. You know, that's turmoil. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. Non-payment could result in a tax lien. Yeah, really like we need a tax lien. All right, that concludes my presentation. Any questions? Anybody run into anything that's different? No? Good. I mean, somebody's getting it out there. Very good. I'd like to thank y'all for coming. All right, so, oh man.